today with my compadre and consigliere, El Bueno Noto.
Hey, it's good being here, especially today.
What do you like about today so much?
Well, I like that it is not so hot.
It's not bad
it's not bad. It's been hellacious out here though. Jeez, 97 degrees in Missouri. I don't even know the humidity. Craziness.
I have an Escalade. I think it's that Summit fan. We got a fan from Summit that's a fan from hell. It howls like the seven demons from hell. It eats 12 volt, like about 20 amps.
Yes, it is 20 amps in.
But this air conditioning gets colder than it ever did with the engine in it.
Really?
Quicker.
Wow.
And colder. It'll give me a headache like an ice cream cone in about 2 minutes.
Don't lick the vents.
And so I have not been driving little sports cars very much.
I know.
It's mostly the Escalade.
The Escalade. Oh, cool.
Well,
No
it's
pun
going
intended.
to be July here pretty quick. What is today, the 27th?
Today's the 28th. Friday the 28th, yeah.
All right. Well, it's going to be July here pretty
On
quick,
Monday.
and that's tough.
I know.
We're kind of on the countdown to the electric vehicle conversion convention.
We are.
It's sneaking up on us. I hope we get everything put together in time for it.
It's coming together. It's coming together nice. But people are signing up. We've got a lot of cars. I think it's going to be a great convention.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Did you locate any titillating news from the internetosphere about electric vehicles this week?
I was clanging around all week, and sometimes there's not much news, and then it just shows up. There was some news, and I'm sad to report that I guess about a €3 million Porsche prototype hybrid burned up in one of the, I can't tell if it was one of the engineers' garages or not, but he did see flames and called the fire department in Germany.
I'm about ready to throw in the towel. Batteries.
Oh yeah,
Garage.
Yeah.
I tell you what I hear from these guys in OEM land. Jack, we know about it, but we can't not have a BMS for liability reasons.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's all
No, it
about
makes
the
no
lawyers.
sense at all.
Well, but let's just say lawyer in the same
You
sentence.
have to claim to have done something to prevent it, even if what you're doing is what
is
causes
what
it.
burns it down.
We live in the land of Alice in Wonderland. This is bizarre. What I think I'll do is build a BMS. That's main design criteria is that we call it a BMS, and it specifically does not burn cars.
It doesn't.
To the ground.
It's a non-flammable BMS.
It's a non-flammable battery management system. It has nothing to do really with charging the car. Doesn't like measure temperatures and stuff. Maybe
Just
sound
innocuous
an alarm
things.
if they get hot. Just do innocuous things that look like it's measure voltage and current and temperature and not do anything at all about it.
And we can call it the laser.
Yeah, right. You plug it in and you turn it on and it lasers.
The laser, that's right. It's just laser. We have to have a product name.
the
laser BMS.
battery monitoring system.
There you go.
See, they've never really gotten whether it's management or monitoring, but this is. I don't even have to look. We don't have to call anybody. I've quit chasing them down. It's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
And
It used to be sporting.
17 ways of it not being that, except 5 or 6 hours of time, and then, well, yeah, that's what happened.
A couple of phone calls to guys that were in the garage.
Yeah.
Oops.
And it's just, we have won the battle and lost the war.
I know. We're going to have to have
We
them.
know how to take care of the batteries now. My daughter, I gave her
That's
the red
right.
pickup truck.
Yeah.
She ran into something and messed up the front end.
Yes, there was a multiplicity of things going on
So it
there.
was
Yes.
using
Yeah.
3.5 amp hours per mile. And then she drove to Sykeston, 30 miles away, drove back to Benton, rolled to a stop. It wouldn't go anymore, Dad.
Yes, that's what I heard.
And
Oops.
we drug it back here. Again, a set of batteries all the way to the bottom. Brought them back up. I believe this does do some damage to the cells. And we have kind of some definitive numbers. It lost about 5% capacity.
A little bit of capacity, okay.
We were doing 195 amp hours, and I think we got her charged from, I checked the bottom balancing. They were all still quite well balanced.
Oh, okay.
Got them all at about 2.7, 2.75 volts. Didn't really have to adjust it. Charged them, not even slowly, just did a normal charge. And it took 187 amp hours.
Okay.
Before we'd put 195 in it. So you do lose a little bit if you do this, but you don't lose your cells. We've decoded this. And by the way, Anna Kluppenberg has been doing some further work on that. Let's,
cool.
Let's throw our European warehouse up
on
and,
the
and see what EVTV East is up to.
Let's do it.
Well, hey everyone, Anna Kloppenborg, New Electric, and the EVTV Amsterdam update here. This week we're back in the studio after hanging out outside and picking up the Joni, our new SS Sand Me Some More, and family vacation boat that will maybe open up the views of people for the cruisers and the sloops. Anyways, back at the studio, and this week we finally finished up that bottom balancing we've been working on for a while. It took a little longer because we were outside, but also because bottom balancing is just a big pain in the ass. Like Jack has said before, the batteries really don't care about what's convenient for you, and that was proven again this time. These 90 100 amp hour cells gave me the runaround. My initial premise was that if I took that many cells and they all had the same stated capacity, and if there was some kind of routine going on in the factory, I'd be pretty much likely to have them all pretty closely balanced already. This 50-60% stated charge thing they were talking about. Hey, so it won't come as a surprise to you all, since you've been following the last couple of weeks and I'd already let the cat out of the bag, that my most surprising result was that I had 4 cells that were significantly lower in state of charge than the brothers and sisters in the boxes. The lowest cells actually came out at 18, 22, 26, and 36 amp hours, whereas the rest all really grouped in mostly between 50 and 55 amp hours. I've got a big spreadsheet, of course, and I'll make it available to anybody that would want it. It's anna@newelectric.nl for me to send it to you directly. Maybe I'll be able to upload it to Jack's file area or post a link in the blog. That should probably work. Hey, just to make sure that you all know that I know that my methods really aren't the latest and greatest when it comes to being accurate, being, secure, being reproducible. But, it's just my first foray into bottom balancing CALB CA cells and getting a feel for these babies. Gotta say, first thing, working with these cells is so much more fun than with the Winstons or the Sinoplies that I've had before. The Generation 1 cells, probably the SE cells from CALB were the same. With all the plastic and the corners, you basically want to wear gloves, because if you're handling them all the time, you're getting these cuts. This next generation foam, rubber, whatever insulator they have on the outside of these CALB cells, it's just a pleasure to work with. They're nice to hold, they're good volume to weight. Anyways, not important, of course, but important to me. Finishing up on the bottom balancing, I started out with having them all in series and taking them down while running in a couple of Warp 9 motors. At a certain point, they just started to come so fast and dropping down 2.7 and lower volts that it really didn't make sense to start up the system, take one out, start up the system, take one out, and I decided to switch over to the PowerLab 8 workstation and just manually balance whatever remaining state of charge was still in these batteries. I have a little bit of video of me finishing up at the Power Lab battery station. Hey, welcome back at Battery Testing Central here in Amsterdam, everyone. We have hooked up the Power Lab 8 Cell Pro to a new lithium supply side. It was getting a little too hard to get those tired old lead acids charged enough or discharged enough. I was spending more time with the supply side than with my discharge side, which wasn't good. We're using the Power Lab 8 to do the final bit of our bottom balancing. We took out over 52 amp hours out of all the cells when hooked up in series. Then we were doing individual discharges down to 2.7 at 5 amps here on the discharge side, monitoring it all on the computer. Of course, it turns out that in the last box, the last 8 cells were actually all at a higher state of charge. I'm guessing somewhere around 60, 62 amp hours in there. So to speed things up a little bit and to get the most out of our Power Lab 8, the claimed 1344 watt unit, by hooking up 8 series on the discharge side, getting 24 volts here on the discharge, 24 volt on the charge or regen discharge side, and that way we can get the max amps out of this unit. Let's see, right now it is discharging at 40 amps. It is monitoring all the individual cells. We've got one at 279, so it's got a little ways to go, and it'll start limiting the current. And on our supply side, it says we're doing 0.95 kilowatt. So it's not quite the 1.3 I was aiming for. We'll see what setting isn't at the max yet. But more importantly, we are speeding up the bottom balance process a little bit and seeing what this Power Lab 8 can do. Hey, I'll come back once we get a discharge and I'll give you the final tally. Well, that's me fooling around with lithium batteries, getting there. And so, like we said, the results are in. The lowest state of charge batteries were at 18, 20, 26. The highest that I had were a little bit above 60 amp hours, and the spread much in between. So we didn't have the outliers way at the top. We didn't have a few that were like 80% state of charge, but we definitely had those few that were lower. So let's start on all the scenarios. Why would these batteries have such a large fluctuation, and what's happening at the Cape factory? Reality is, I don't know. I mean, I've got a few theories that probably even involve going out to lunch and coming back in later. Certain batch had longer, certain batch, then when the dinner bell rings, oh, well, we're only at 40%, let's turn it off, and that's done for the day. There are many, many reasons why batteries could come at different state of charge. What's more important is these few batteries that were at a lower state of charge, once we had discharged them, we were seeing a few cells dropping a little further over the next couple of days. And I've seen that posted on the blog as well. As per Jack's suggestion, I took those cells and cycled them a few times, and like I said, they're holding amp hours like a champ. They're producing them, they're taking the charge, they're producing them, and after those few cycles, I now have them bottom balanced with the rest, and it'll be a week or so before we install them in the Nedcraft, so I'll keep an eye on them and see if there's any further self-discharge or whatever that was going on. Are we done with bottom balancing? Not at all. We're just getting started, baby. The Nedcraft now will have its 100 amp hour cells. The Delta is getting 160 amp hour cells. So we're going to get stuck in with it this week and start on the 60 amp hour cells. If anybody has any suggestions or requests as to our process or some of the data we gather along the way, shoot me a line on at newelectric.nl. Scott, John, Doug, I saw you guys were more into it on the blog. If you want to shoot me a line and see if I can get some more data for you or anything, you have seen that I could maybe reproduce or try to reproduce, I'd love to get into that with you. One thing I will do is I'll check the voltages as I have the cells in the box with what was stated on the packing list. Because this time for the 4 cells that were in the lower state of charge, I don't know if they already had a lower OCV coming out of the box as compared to some of the data on the packing list, because I didn't check the per cell thing. One caveat, my equipment isn't that good, so we're always going to get differences, but at least I can try and we can look. Hey, what else was going on this week? We were working on the Delta. We did a big cleanup of the motor compartment area, and we're able to now check if the inverter and motor are going to fit in the general area where we want them. And rejoice, it's all going to fit. I've got a few pictures that you can see how we can centrally mount the motor at a 16-degree angle and line it up with the prop shaft. There will be a pressure bearing in between, a good setup there, and we can get the inverter behind it. Batteries all around, should work out like a treat. Hey, before I go on too long, that's it for this week. Shoot us a line. Please let me help you remember that we have stock of 60 amp hour cells, 100 amp hour cells, 180 amp hour cells. I've got some warps. I've got a Sol Junior. I got some motors for you. I can get a whole lot of more stuff. I got a shipment going from Jack next week. So anybody here in the EU got a big hunkering for EVTV parts, shoot us a line. We'll make it happen. Anyways, that's it from Anna here in Amsterdam. I'll keep building. You keep building. See you all soon.
That Anna, he's a busy, and now he's a comedian.
I have, no, he's doing some good work. I have not actually seen this with my own eyes, but I've had 2 people report it, and that is cells that after they bottom mounts them, it's not much, it's thousands of a volt, but they keep draining down.
They keep dropping a little, huh?
And
yeah.
And I told Anna, I said, well, if you've got a rope around one, captured,
Right.
have one in captivity,
Yeah.
let's try something. I'm betting if you'll charge it and discharge it, cycle it twice, that it's just not fully formed, because they're right from the factory.
That's right.
And he did, and now he's still watching it, but does not see any discharge.
And he did find
So
difference.
that seems to be the cure.
Yeah.
But he does point out that it's a pain in the ass.
Bottom
Well,
balancing is a pain in the ass.
as I told what was that guy?
But worth it.
Well, he did the BMS that burned up the A Fun True, or what, the Qashqais. Princess
yes,
of
yes, yes.
Norway.
Our fellow that came over and spoke at the show, Reap? Was that a Reap Systems
Reap
BMS?
Systems, yes.
Yeah. Dorfel?
Yeah, Dennis Dorfler.
Dennis Dorfler. Yeah, Dennis Dorfler.
That he said that would be very inconvenient to try to bottom balance the cell. I said, Dennis, I have to tell you, and I do love the cells, but they have never asked me what I might find convenient in all the time I've dealt with it.
They must use very tiny voices if they do.
And I have to confess that in all this time, I'd never really asked them how they felt about it either. It's just not a guy talk type thing.
Right, we don't do that.
We
Yeah.
don't do that.
We don't do that.
We
Yeah.
don't discuss our feelings or what we find convenient.
Yeah.
They just are what they are. We've devised a method where you can, and you're going to do it, they're right, BMS or no, eventually you're going to over-discharge your cells. Or drive it just a little further than you wanted to.
If I can only
And
get,
the idea is to survive that. And bottom balancing, we are getting 100% cell survival, but you're going to lose a little bit of capacity if you take it down that low.
do it.
Now, I don't know that capacity is lost forever. It may be a temporary thing, but I know that when we brought it back up, this 5% in the margin of error, I guess I think we lost a little.
probably.
I've got a feel for these things. I would normally be able to tell if it was just slop. and this feels real.
Feels like real loss. Oh,
Yeah, not big loss, but
just a little bit, yeah.
yeah. We may go through that cycle one more. I mean, not down to 0, but down to 2.75 and refill it. Now, understand the spec on the cells is to 2.5, but there's
that's
not
right.
much difference in there. So that's kind of what we know. But I think we're doing a lot of neat stuff with Arduino Dewey right now.
Yes.
Ed Clausen and Colin Kidder, I'm starting to get in all. We had a little delay on our Arduino Dewey CAN bus shield.
Yeah, we did, just a little
We're
one.
going to have to rerun those boards, but howsoever, he put an EEPROM chip on it.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah, exactly.
And,
That'll be
they were trying to
great.
explain to me all this stuff with wire and how to access it. And, I said, why don't we just write a replacement for EEPROM.h, which is the library that you add on Arduino. And Colin whipped it out in 2 days.
Okay. Oh, good. All right.
And so you
Cool.
don't, you can use it just like a regular Arduino for an EEPROM, except it's 256K, 32,000 bytes
Yeah,
of EEPROM. And so that's, kind of a development there. Where was I going with all that? I think I could make a device to measure current and voltage accurately, take a couple of temperatures, that sort of thing. And we could call that a BMS. It monitors the batteries, and it monitors the current, and maybe stick some Bluetooth in it or something to interface with an Android, something like that. And that would we could declare it to be a BMS.
Yes. I could.
And then you could buy a BMS.
Yes.
And have one, and all your friends in the EV club would then be satisfied.
That's right. Whatever that M means.
Right. And what else do we know?
Let's see. Well, they were picking on Tesla. I guess they still are in some states, but it looks they were attempting to have Tesla in North Carolina. I think Texas, New York. New York was trying to make it illegal just to register a Tesla or be a Tesla dealer. North Carolina has dropped their bid. They said forever to try to stop Tesla from selling direct to consumers.
Well, now wait a minute. Was North Carolina doing this and New York doing this, or were some vested interests like auto dealers
They're actually
trying to introduce legislation into the houses of these august bodies who don't know, don't care. Okay, what is it you need, Jim? And they read it, and about that time their email box fills up because Elon Twittered.
He's tweeting. Yes, he's tweeting quite a bit.
Oops, that's a hot potato. Why don't we just adjourn?
Let's just adjourn. Yes. Let's have a filibuster in our pink tennis shoes.
So there wasn't a great deal of thought or sentiment in New York state government or North Carolina. It doesn't sound like to me, because they sure caved easily.
They did.
So what we're talking about is some auto dealers who had some lobbyists who wrote the law.
Yes. Yeah.
And went and delivered it to the Capitol.
Yes.
And issued a press release that the governor was
thinking of doing it. Yes.
And I mean, that's how these guys play.
That's how it works. Yes.
It's got where nothing is as it appears any longer.
No, and it was funny along that line that the Huffington Post happened to have an article, Tesla versus rent seekers, and kind of explained this in these disruptive technologies. The rent seekers being the entrenched companies that are not able to or don't want to change the market. They're just doing copies of their old product, and just do that exactly. They'll hire lobbyists and lawyers to try to keep their interest, their rent.
3/4 of the regulation in this country is demanded by companies seeking government protection for their right to have an unfettered, competition-free zone to make money.
Yes, exactly.
And screw people.
Yes, yes.
You know, that's the kind of situation we're in.
We're in one.
We have ourselves wrestled with this, and
We-
here's how the
yes.
thinking goes. We're notified that in order to ship batteries, we have to go through a training process. We have to pay an annual fee for a hazmat
Right. Have to have an 800 number.
alert number
Yep.
or something, and we have to do all sorts of things.
Yep. We got the white suits just in case.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, we ought to wear the hoods. And the white suit. All of this,
Sheets.
it's like the BMS, kind of a misunderstanding about the batteries.
Yes.
But I can't fix it.
Yeah, what can we do?
We win the battle and lose the war. I can demonstrate that the whole basis for it is stupid. But who to?
Right.
You have to find a sentient humanoid involved with it, and it's kind of a sentient humanoid free zone that's making the regulations.
That's making the regulations.
Well, what
Yes.
does that do to us? Well, a lot of other people that would like to sell batteries really can't.
Right. It's just too much.
You have to sell quite a few batteries to afford going through all this. So it serves as a barrier to entry, in addition to being a pain in the ass.
Right. No, it does.
And that's how this little game is played. Is let's just pile up barriers to entries until nobody else.
So
can
nobody
compete.
else can play. That's right.
Well, that's it's not the way to run a railroad, I don't think, but that's what you get into.
That's what happens.
And it's why I like technology. A guy can invent something in his garage and roll it out and show it to the world, and instantly enormous corporations with investors and employees and so forth are on introduction, obsolete and destined for death.
Yeah, and they're just holding on. Paying some money for some lobbyists and lawyers.
A matter of gravity defiance from
Yeah.
then on
Yep.
until that's changed. But it's a cycle of life, cycle of life.
Cycle of life.
In our American economy.
It is.
And it's actually a thing of beauty.
It is.
What else you got?
Oh, a whole bunch of, me in racing, there's Chip Yates, who has done a lot of land speed records, is going to do a speed record and I guess a flight across the Atlantic in an aircraft. They're going to have in-flight battery swaps, which I guess is a little more difficult than refueling a tanker like to another plane. I don't know how they're going to do this, and he plans
Does
to
he
do
know
it fastly.
Does he know about this Lindbergh guy?
He does. I think he's going to retrace Lindbergh's steps, flight.
In a battery?
In a battery, yeah.
And
Across
he,
a big
and he
ocean.
wants Tesla to swap his
I
batteries
think that's trying to
midway.
get Elon to get up there with the Tesla swapper.
No problem, Chip. You go for it, big guy.
I know he's doing that. This was kind of interesting. You and I talk about the aftermarket, and I know that you'll have a comment on this. Our viewers ask questions about new cars being available and is the custom electric car dead? But Nismo, which is Nissan's racing counterpart, they do all the trick parts for Nissan cars, and in fact do the race cars for them, has a performance chip for the Leaf.
How do I get one?
Well, we'd have to be in Japan. We'd have to have a Leaf. They're not selling them here, but they have understood that there may be a tuner market for performance, and it actually gives you a higher acceleration, so it allows you to pull more torque out of that pack, and there is also a better economy mode. So it gives you, on both ends of the spectrum, gives you quite improved performance. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, let's order one.
We'll see. Okay. Well, we could probably get our buddies in Japan to get us one.
We might, and then we can make thousands of copies of it.
That's right.
Pirate it.
That's right. Pirate arg across the 7 seas. More racing stuff. Pikes Peak is this weekend, everybody. I don't know if you can watch it on TV, but there are 7 electric cars like we spoke about last week, and 2 Mitsubishi Mievs took the 2 fastest qualifying, a little under 4 minutes, 3 minutes and 56 seconds and 3 minutes and 57 seconds. The monster, Nobuhiro Tajima, was just a second behind them at 3 minutes and 58 seconds qualifying. So
who's the main guy?
Greg Tracy in a Miev, and
In a Miev.
yes, they're the 2. Mitsubishi has the 2 top qualifying cars.
I'll be there.
So that's this weekend. I don't know
Where's
where
Harbor and Bream?
they're not.
They're just not going this year.
I guess not. I guess, yeah.
Wonder what's going on at EV West.
I don't know. No, I don't know. And last is Drayson. We told you last week he was going to try to set a record, the fastest electric vehicle, a land speed record, and he did with FIA confirmation at 204.185 miles per hour. And so
204.185. I was going to say, I think I've been 204.
I never, me either. I just,
He edged this out.
I bet I rounded down is what happened.
Yeah, probably.
It always, just wasn't accurate enough by the thousandths.
Speaking of which, we've had a mystery, and probably there's been enough new viewers that a lot of them won't remember this. So
Yeah, either we don't remember, or just plain don't know. Yeah.
how long has it been? 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, at least 2 years. Yes.
We made some modifications to a Spyder that we have that was originally built by Dwayne Ball, Spyder 550, and of course most of it didn't suit us.
No, we started changing it.
We put on some quite expensive aluminum brake rotors and hubs and wheels, and got the weight of the unsprung weight of the wheels down to 30 something pounds.
Yeah, it was really, really, really low.
We got the weight of the vehicle down to 1,804 pounds. And oddly, it actually used more energy than Speedster Duh at 2,040 pounds.
Yes, yes, at that point, yes.
And that was the mystery.
Yes.
And that was where we invented the infamous EVTV 700 mile an hour rolling resistance test out front
Our
here.
roll down carnival, yes.
We actually just kind of parked the car on an almost flat piece of ground and then released the brake and let it roll down a very little bit of an incline and
Yes.
out onto some flat ground, and then take a can of spray paint and mark where it stopped.
Yeah, really, it was the EVTV soapbox derby.
Yeah, the soapbox derby, that's what we called it.
That's really what
That's
we were
right.
calling it.
And
yes.
this car did not do very well.
No, it didn't.
And we did it. We put ceramic bearings in this, $350 a side. We've done everything. And we had a period where viewers would simply run over us with hundreds of emails
Yes,
of
we
what
had
we were doing wrong,
suggestions
what we ought to check. If we had checked any part of all that, it would have been a 12-year career.
That's right.
And some very advanced and detailed theories.
Yes, yes.
Almost all of which were total bullshit. But
Yeah, there were some good 4 o'clock in the morning theories.
a lot of times you'll do something with your electric car, you build it, and there's a remaining mystery. We don't really close the book on it. We don't really give up. We just don't get in a panic to do it right now.
Right. Yes.
Let's try some things and see and kind of be observant. The ceramic bearings burn out.
Yeah, they
They
kind
must not be any good.
No, yeah, we have $350. That must not have worked. They
Put in
burned,
the
exploded.
$12 bearings. That did a little better. But
Yes.
just recently, what happened?
Well, I took the car down to a car show, and I was driving along on the freeway. It was about a 30-mile each way. At about 15 miles down, I got this clanking noise, and it was a bearing sound, but I couldn't tell if it was coming from the transmission or the wheels. I pulled over the side of the road, literally for a couple of seconds, looked at the car, got back in, drove, no noise, all the next 15 miles. Went to the show, coming back almost across the freeway, almost the identical spot except in the northbound lane. I got the noise again. Did the same thing, pulled over for a second, didn't even get out of the car this time. It started, no noise, brought the car back. It was really, really weird how it was not intermittent. It actually happened at the same point, and I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Well, we did. We had another set of bad bearings.
We did. We ended up having another set of bad bearings.
Why do we keep burning up bearings?
Well, it was funny because I was looking at the car, and that Spyder it opens up, and it's why I like to take it to car shows. People could see in there. And I was looking at the car, and I really didn't put two and two together. I was just looking at the axles and looking at everything, going, "What's going on?" I literally call my wife and I tell her, "Write down negative camber." She dutifully writes it down. I get home and there's negative camber. I'm thinking, maybe the wheels are splayed out a little bit too much and they're causing rolling resistance. So we thought about fixing that. And I guess we could let them see a little bit of what we did, or what are you thinking? Want to keep going with the story?
I'm wrapped, but yeah,
Okay,
let's show them what we found.
Okay.
All right.
All right, he's rolling.
What we are doing today is part of a long-standing mystery. If you recall, a year or two ago, we came up with probably the slowest rolling resistance test ever devised. We start right here in front of our drive and just roll down a slight incline down the street that levels off, and then we mark where it stops rolling. We don't use any power at all. The 1955 Spyder 550 never did quite do right.
No,
You
never
have
did.
a theory as to why?
Yeah, I do, and actually the theory started over the weekend when we started getting some bearing knock in the outer wheel bearings. Well, I guess the only wheel bearings, the axle side of the
Let's
Spyder.
don't go through that just now.
Okay.
What I want to do is a baseline, because
Oh.
I can't find our film from then, and I'm not sure it'll be right.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to shoot the red one
Okay.
down the street, and then shoot you in the Spyder,
Okay. See what we get.
and we're going to mark where they stop.
All right.
And then you're going to try your fix,
Okay. Yeah, we'll try our fix and see what happens.
and if it gets any better, we'll talk all about everything we know.
All right. Okay.
So let's do that. Shane, I want you to get in here, get in the car, and I want you to take off the brake. I don't want you to start it. You don't need any electrical at all. And I want you to kind of roll out there toward the stripe when we got no traffic, and take off down the street and see how far you can get. And when you get there, Shannon is going to mark your spot at your front bumper on the pavement with yellow paint without getting any paint on my car. And your objective is to get as far as you can. And so stay off the brake, don't touch it ever.
All righty.
And you're mostly steering.
Yes.
And we're not going to shove it or anything
That's
else. You're just going to take off. And I'm ready when you are.
Go ahead and mark those two.
All righty.
Let's say on a count of three, I'll work the camera here a little bit. And let's cut loose the brake and commence the roll. It's a speed demon. That Avnetic sure does do it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really reminds me of a
That
science
thou-
fiction movie. Hopefully
that
his
1,000
skin's good.
amps is it's sending her down the road. But we'll see how far she free rolls. And Richard will be following him down there to the end and filming the painting with the other camera. Well, here we are at the end.
Yeah, we have made it to the end.
We're kind of down almost to Monk's. I think in went a little bit past Monk's. Monk's is closed down now. They don't.
It is. Don't,
They didn't make it.
no more rib tips.
We've marked us a yellow mark here, which will throw off the utility people horrendously when they come through here working on stuff.
We should have used fluorescent
But-
orange. That would have really messed them up.
We now know where this one stops. Let's go do the same test on the Spyder.
All right.
Okay, Brain,
All right.
we're in the same spot,
Okay.
different car.
All righty.
You're about the same weight as Shane. Actually, the car's a little lighter, but let's see how she rolls.
All right. We shall. Let me let this guy cross the street here. Then we'll release the beasts.
Yeah, we don't want to have to stop for somebody.
No, and here
He's
comes the
making
truck
the
behind me.
Truck behind you.
Yep, and then I think we're looking pretty good. And he's turning. All right, I'm going to go ahead and release
Maybe you
this.
can draft this truck a little bit.
That's I could do a little bit of NASCAR here.
No, he's pulling in for lunch.
All right, I don't get
All right, you're on.
Oh,
Let's,
here comes
let it
another. Here
roll.
comes another guy. All right, I'm gonna.
Okay, cut loose.
I'm gonna go. All right, goodbye. Ah, it's like being in Austin Powers. I'm afraid.
You're driving like a bat out of
I
hell.
am.
You'll kill us all.
Ah. Okay. Go ahead, Remy. Hey, Rich.
Shannon, I'd like you to make an S next to this one for Spyder.
Yep, I did that. Okay.
S.
Oh, yeah. Let me get
And then go make an S next to that one for Speedster. That way we can tell them apart.
Yeah, exactly.
See, on my planet, it's not really an S. That's a symbol. Brainius Maximus Magnus
Hail.
and Shanius Followerus Leaderus. We have a 14,500 square foot facility here. 14,000 square feet of shop and 500 square feet of finished showroom that is air conditioned. Would you believe that these two have made a command level decision to take a car completely apart on my white tile floor in the air conditioned part while it's 95 degrees where I sit in the shop?
We could take a survey. I bet most of them agree with me.
Somehow crap up my white floor. We are taking a look at some of Brainius Maximus Magnus's theories as to why this car is about as messed up as a soup sandwich.
Yes.
We have developed a habit of replacing the bearings on the rear end of this, and that has led to some remarkable discoveries. Would you elucidate us and illuminate us on this topic?
Oh, we can. We've actually, this car has never rolled as freely as our other cars, as the Speedsters.
We noticed that, and all our viewers did too. Everybody
Yeah.
had a theory. I never did have an answer.
No, we really didn't have an answer. And it should roll freely. And I went to a car show this past Saturday. Actually won first place in my class too. So
Cool.
yeah, that was nice. And I was driving down the highway, probably 15 miles from here, at a 30-mile drive. At about 15 miles in, I started getting a knocking noise. And I couldn't tell where it was coming from, except it was behind me, which is where all the knocking noises are. So I pulled over to the side of the road, looked around, shook everything, couldn't find anything, took off, no knocking noise. Drove to the car show, had all day to stare at the car, didn't really come up with anything else. Then I drove back, and almost identical spot across the freeway, going north now, 15 miles away, I get the knocking noise.
Might have been a spot in the road.
I was curious about that, so I got out again, looked, drove away, no knocking noise. So it was an intermittent noise that happened after 15 miles. I could stop the car for literally 30 seconds and it would go away. And I had stared at the car all day, talking to people about electric cars, and had looked at the stance of the car. And this car, the rear wheels had a negative camber, so they were sticking out more at the bottom than at the top.
That's kind of unusual. Or speedsters stick out more at the top.
They have a little bit of positive camber. And this car, I mean, for road racing and really that type of handling, a little negative camber is okay.
Well, they also had this a little bit. Dwayne and his automotive genius They took out our torsion bar, put in a hind joint in its place.
They did.
And kind of engineered this coil-over shock type of deal instead of what you normally have in a VW.
Right. Normally you have a torsion tube that in the car would be about right here and goes across to the other side, and you have two torsion bars that as the car goes up and down, the shock absorber is just really dampening and rebounding control. That's really all that's doing. Really the car be sitting on a twisting steel rod, torsion rod. And one of the reasons it's out of this car is because if it was there, you couldn't have put the motor or the batteries in.
We wanted a motor in back.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure Dwayne did too.
Yeah, so they cut it out and devised a kind of a race car suspension, a coil-over suspension. Put a Heim joint in there, which is one of those the open joints, and then it has usually like a threaded that'll look like maybe a tie rod or something. This one has a hole and it has a little pivot, and they put it in here in its place. Then they put the regular spring plates on here and have coil-over shocks here, and we'll show you what those look like in a second. It's a nice suspension, but it's not.
What was causing the bump?
Pardon?
The bump?
The bump, ultimately. So the car had negative camber, which means that the axle tubes, this is a swing axle, so there's axle tubes here, and let's say my head is the transmission. So this is the sump. If the axle tubes are at an angle where they're flowing outward, because this is gravity fed, then it will get lubrication out on this end. These bearings are not greased. They're lubricated by the transmission fluid.
So you want the bearing below the sump.
You want the bearing below the sump, exactly. And
so it gets oil from the
so it gets oil. What happens is as you drop the transmission down to change that camber angle from either zero or a little positive to negative, the transmission's coming down. Now those transmission arms are the tubes are at an upward angle, and there's no pump to pump it. It's all kind of gravity and oil spinning around in the transmission.
And so oil in the transmission, gravity fed, is probably not going to roll uphill to the bearings?
Not really, not enough.
I like this story, and one of the reasons is we spent $350, or was it $350 a side?
$350 a side.
On ceramic bearings that lasted about a month.
Yeah, they lasted about a month. Yeah.
And then we put in some other bearings.
They exploded, basically.
I thought those ceramic bearings should have had a longer life.
Yeah, they exploded.
Particularly for $350 a side.
Yeah.
So, do you think this may have had something to do with it if we were running them dry?
I believe that's what was happening. And then when I stopped momentarily, they were just pulling over the side of the road. The transmission gear's not spinning anymore. The oil is not slung all over. It's kind of gets in the sump, gets in the tubes a little bit. It cooled the bearings off. They were getting hot. It cooled them off enough to stop clattering and lubricated enough so I could get another 15 miles.
What would the effect of these hot bearings, particularly if they're about to go out and blow up, have on my rolling resistance and my amp hours per mile?
They probably have a certain amount because the bearings did have some play in them. They were wobbly. I mean, they'd been heated up. The other thing is, and may be even a bigger part of this story, is that the tires at this negative angle are pressing down. They're really biting into the road, and they're causing more rolling resistance. Is really what I'm come to believe in our understanding, talking to people too, that negative camber is causing rolling resistance.
So what do you do to get positive camber?
Well, what you do is normally you would raise the rear of the car. As you raise the car, your camber is going to change. So we're raising the car with a coil-over suspension. It has a spring. Normally all you do is push the spring up a little bit. You start with a spring that's with no preload. So this spring is at 0 preload right now, and it'll push down on the car as some weight's put on it. And you take this adjuster here, and let me show you with this one where there's no spring, and you just run this up a little bit. And it gives you a little more preload. Now preload is only so good to the point where you have the spring so bound up that you don't have any suspension either. So we tried to raise the car doing that. We couldn't raise the car at all. It just would not raise. I was confused, and we took the shocks off, looked at them, went and actually got a stock VW shock out of our supply here, put the shock next to one of these shocks, and this shock is a 15-inch shock with 4 inches of travel. What that means is that it was all too low. The shock just wasn't long enough.
And these shocks are how long?
These shocks are actually would go to 20 inches. We have them set up at 17 inches, which is the stock Volkswagen shock length is 17 inches.
Are we back in the situation of having too short a shaft? I hate it when that happens.
We've been short shafted again.
I've heard that all my life.
We've been short shafted again. So we've got new shocks from AFCO Racing.
They're pretty.
They're pretty shocks. We had some QA1s on the car, very nice shocks. We had rebound and compression. They were two, double adjustables. We didn't really need this. This is set at a 40-40 or 50-50. This will be just fine.
What happened to the bearings?
The bearings from the car?
Yeah.
I've got one of them over here. I'm gonna grab
Oh
one.
no, I don't need to see it. What did you do about them? Are they still in the car?
They're replaced. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The bearings
And
are
what do you have
replaced.
to do that?
What you have to do is, and you probably have seen this, and you can go back a couple of years when we put these from, who was that, the fellow that we got these from? I can't remember his name now.
Can't either. They're aluminum.
Yeah.
Hubs and rotors, and then kind of a lightweight disc caliper.
Yeah.
And then we put a lightweight weld racing
wheel. Mm-hmm.
aluminum wheel, and I thought we were doing all kinds of good, but my knowledge of these things, mechanical, is never seems to get any better after they explain it and show it to me. I still don't quite get it, but I kind of understand about this oil needing to run downhill.
Exactly.
Because on all our speedsters, they really sit kind of like this.
They all have a little bit of positive camber, yeah.
And so if our axles were aimed up, that could be a problem on the bearings. Your theory of the tire bite and camber is interesting, but the little bit I do know about mechanics gets back to the same old theme that we hit around here all the time. It's not about the electrics, it's about the heat.
Yeah.
And if you heat up metal and it swells, it's not going to run
Not
very
going to be
freely.
very free, yeah.
And so we have changed the bearings.
We've done this side, we've done this bearing, we have one more bearing to do.
We still have to do the other side.
Yep.
And is that how we get crap all over my white tile floor? And the
Well,
500
now we
square
don't.
foot
Now
of
we don't have any.
air-conditioned area?
Well, now we don't have any transmission fluid in
And
there.
we're out of
So we
transmission
run it
fluid.
dry.
Well, then that won't make much further mess.
No.
So we have to change the bearing on the other side and replace with the new shocks that are the standard stock 17-inch.
Yes.
And we believe that that's going to, do you have enough room between that running gear and that bolt he's got kind of stuck into the top of the tree there?
Yeah, because these shocks normally had these springs on them, so we just replaced the springs. So we're looking at the same, at the same shock. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be fine. But that's the theory.
But
And
then it'll pick the back end up a little bit.
yeah, we'll be starting 2 inches higher, which we've probably needed. The back of this car was sagged quite a bit. I mean, it was sagged maybe 3 inches.
Huh. Interesting.
That's the theory.
It's a great benefit to know something about the car you're converting, and I never quite do. It hasn't stopped us. But
That's
slowed
right.
us
At
down
least
a
it doesn't
couple of
stop
times.
us. Yeah, may cause us a year.
In
or
this
so.
case, I think it slowed us down, but this was an ongoing mystery, not solved yet, guys. This is a hypothesis with some testing and demonstration. We might be able to graduate it to a theory. And so hope springs eternal.
It does.
I can't wait to see how this comes out and how we do on our rolling resistance test, and subsequently the magic number amp hours per mile.
Exactly.
Stay with us. Brain, we have the Spyder out in front of the shop again.
We do, and
We've done some work on it.
we got New shocks. We got them on. Yes, we used the same springs that we had on our shorter 15-inch shocks. These are 17-inch shocks. And it pulled the rear end up pretty good. We got it up.
So you have, what did you say, a half degree?
We have precisely a half a degree of positive camber now.
Positive camber.
Yes.
Do our axles go this way instead of this way?
They do. Gravity would work the flow of fluid downhill now. Yes.
So I don't need to lay in another dozen of those bearings.
You shouldn't have to. That should take care of the unlubricated bearings. That's
okay. And your theory was that may have contributed to our rolling resistance.
Yeah, we did find that the bearings may have been a little sloppy. They may have gotten warm from being starved for lubrication. And so we put new bearings in as well. The stock VW bearings. Got the camber to 0. Put the new shocks on so that we could actually adjust it up. Use the same springs, the Eibach 1,000-pound progressive springs. And we're going to see what happens.
Okay. Let's get ready. We got Shane here. He was the driver.
He was the pilot.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's take a break and clear the traffic, and we'll get this thing going.
All right.
Okay, Shane, you know the rules. Release the parking brake. You don't have to step on the accelerator because the car's off.
We'll just let the traffic clear for a sec here.
We've got another couple of cars coming. And then we're going to cut you loose. And you roll there, kind of go over to the center line, and then go on down the street until you
One more.
stop.
And don't speed.
Don't speed.
Don't
Whatever you do, don't pass
speed.
anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd say you're good to go. Let's take it off.
All right, there we go.
It's a speed demon.
It's like a shot out of a cannon.
It is.
Brian.
That must hurt.
I can tell already that this is going to be good stuff. Look how much faster he's going.
He is. He's got to be in pain. It must hurt. Just to roll that fast.
The G-forces are beyond description.
Like one of the science fiction movies out of the 60s.
It is,
yeah.
yes. We should have put him in a Buck Rogers suit.
Not buck naked.
Not buck naked. You can cut. I said you can cut.
There you go. Cool.
Rich is supposed to be down at the end. He's instead up here with us.
Can you hear us? Okay.
Well, little grasshopper. This is where Shannon made the first S.
Yes.
For Spyder.
For Spyder. Yes. S for
Where
Spyder.
the Spyder stopped.
That's how we know. It's an S for Spyder.
And we kept this straight because up here we had him made a S for Speedster. This is where
brilliant.
The Speedster stopped. See, the S is not really an S on my planet. It's a symbol.
It's a symbol.
For a really stupid movie.
There you go.
I saw it last week. It was really awful.
We've changed your name to a symbol, huh?
What have we got here?
Where's the Spyder? Up here? Well, you didn't give it a little goose of the throttle, did you?
You didn't have the motor running, did you? Brain, we're 30 feet past the Speedster.
Yeah, and about
that's 30 feet past the Spyder.
about 60 feet past. Yeah, past.
I would say you guys are onto something with the getting the oil to the
Oil to the bearings and the
and
camber.
the camber right.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably the footprint of that tire has something to do with it. We're aired to a very specific 44 pounds.
Yes.
And that's a very interesting result and a very significant one since he took off at 0 miles per hour.
Yeah, he's blazing down that hill.
Slide hill. And this is our EVTV rolling resistance test. Not terribly scientific, but we get
it's
actually
consistent.
a good indication with it.
Yeah.
And we're down in front of what it used to be Monk's Barbecue. This is I don't think Duh made it this far. No. Now that's particularly peculiar when you consider that the speedster that we have, young Harbor and Brian wanted to make it go fast, and they figured out a way to get 57 batteries in that car.
We plumped it up a little.
It's 2,400 pounds.
Oh, well.
And this one is 1804 and just rolled 30 feet past. Now, when you start at 0 miles per hour, that weight down a hill is the kinetic energy in the car.
Right.
And this rolled further than the Speedster.
And started
by
coming
a
uphill.
lot.
Yeah.
It would be very interesting to me if you would go drive it, and let's see if that maybe pulls it down back into the range of our 10 to 1.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm looking for 180 watt-hours per mile. I'm going to bet you we get it.
All right, we'll take it out for a cruise and.
I have a way of winning these bets, especially when we shoot it not in the reverse order.
It's the movie magic.
It's
Movie magic.
So let's do a real roll and see how it comes out.
All righty. All right, I'm back.
Kimosabe.
It's quiet.
It's very quiet, huh?
Yeah, it really is. Let's see what we got here.
What's the magic numbers?
We have 22.0 amp hours and 14.7 miles.
All right. 22.7.
22 flat, 22.0.
Oh, 22's flat.
And 14.7 miles.
Divided by 14.7. That can't be right. .4965.
That's
What's your voltage?
the voltage is 118.5.
177 watt-hours on an 1,804 pound car. My 10 to 1 rule is back in play.
It's back.
And the Spyder is back in form.
The Spyder's a player.
Spyder's a player. And what do we have? 36 180s?
36 180s in here, yeah, 120 volts. Yeah.
Yeah. So 36, well, it's 120 volts times 180, 21.6 divided by 177, 122 miles.
That's not a bad car.
Max range.
Good solid 100-mile car.
We got 100 safe.
Yeah, good.
Which is where this car always should have been.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
No, I mean, he really had to baby it, and it wasn't. And that was a hard drive out there, too. It's got to be rush hour out there. There's a lot of people. It must be close to 5:30, 6 o'clock, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, so I was really having to use the throttle a lot.
So that was some freeway and then a bunch of stop and go.
And then stop and go really all the way back. Yeah, about half and half.
I like it.
Yeah.
really 1.5 amp hours, 175 watt hours per mile.
Yeah.
Rounded.
And a solid 100-mile range, safe.
Good job. That's pretty much the end of the mystery, guys. Sometimes it takes a while.
Years.
Or
But that's the fun.
years again.
Exactly. That's all the fun, though.
Stay with us.
All right.
So basically, the transmission's down here, the bearings are above
Up
them,
above it. The sump is down below.
and so it gets no lubrication.
Right.
So we get to buy new bearings every 500 miles.
Right. You get to no lubrication. Yeah.
So if we do it like this, then you get lubrication after the bearings.
We've got the sump up, we've got the level of transmission fluid, we've got gravity working for us, and those bearings only get lubricated by the transmission fluid. And when we took it all apart, what was hard, to show you was that the bearings were blued, at least the one was fairly blued, loose, and we had hot brake rotor. We don't know where that came from. We don't know that if that was, we had a brake pad that was kind of chewed up. So there was a lot going on with heat out there on the ends, and not quite sure. But we got new shocks, used our old springs, lifted the car up, had to play with it, had to get new calipers because we were not sure what was, we might have had a lot of stuff going on back there. And yeah, they can see it outrolls.
On my planet, it's not an S.
That's not an S. That's right.
Subsequent to that shot, I went and drove the car and got the mileage down to 1.4
You did.
amp hours per mile.
Yes.
Leadfoot here still takes a little bit more battery
a
than
sports
me.
car, sorry.
I only weigh twice what he does and use half the electricity. What's a sports
there's
car
a lot
when
of
you drive
traffic.
it? When I drive it, it's just an electric car.
It's an electric car.
And yeah, I drove it around town, and it was unbelievable. We were down to about 150 watt hours per mile,
I know, isn't that crazy?
and so that mystery solved.
Yes.
What it turned out to be was we had negative camber on the wheels, and the axles were like this, and our bearings never got any lubrication.
No.
Might be a little footprint too on the tires.
Yeah, now with that positive camber, we
Now
might
we got a
not-
half a degree positive camber, and we dropped right back in. Our normal formula is 10 to 1. A 1,800-pound car ought to be 180 watt hours. We actually beat that by quite a bit.
We beat that, yeah.
That formula has pointed up a couple of things. That was how we discovered that Tim Catalier had a brush problem on his
Yes.
net gain
On his
11.
net gain, yes.
And he changed his brushes, and it brought it right back down in. He had a 3,000-pound car doing 360 watt hours per mile.
Yep.
I said, Tim, that ain't right.
No, and it wasn't.
And
no.
we that was when we did our brush investigation.
Yeah, we did the Hell
and
Week
found
investigation.
out it does make a difference.
Yes.
And then this one has been a long-running mystery, and but now it's almost mystery the other way.
Yeah.
Because I got it down to about 150 watt hours per mile, and that's abnormally low. If we could figure out what caused that,
We could do that again.
we could do it again.
That's right.
And so that's kind of the process. We don't always know.
No.
Particularly mechanical things like that. You're the VW expert, not me.
And it took me a while of staring out there in the sun to cook my brain, and it started to work after my brain cooled off.
Well, you did well.
Thanks, Dad.
Because we rolled easily 70 feet past the first run, and a good 30 or 35 feet past Speedster Dove,
Yeah.
which is a 2,400-pound car.
Yeah, you figure it would have more mass to
Right, it should
pull it.
have gone down the hill further, but it did not. So the Spyder is in good shape.
It looks good too.
Again, on the pickup truck, this alignment and these
yeah,
sort
that's
of
right.
running gear issues
Yeah, that's right.
are actually quite important. What all do we do that we don't talk about a whole lot? Oh, the guy was here from Advanced Auto Parts. He promised to get us to carry the line of Redline ATF. There is
Oh, good.
automatic transmission fluid out there called Redline that we just now mobile, I'm playing with some mobile synthetic, Mobile One,
Oh, yeah.
ATF2 these days. But some of these lightweight synthetic automatic transmission fluids, you can put them in that VW transmission. You're not going to burn it up. They do a good job.
No, they really lubricate,
and,
really
and
well.
it cuts down the resistance in that gearbox quite a bit. But the biggest thing is the front end alignment. That truck was up to about 3.5 amp hours.
Yeah.
She actually bent a tie rod in. It was badly out of alignment.
It was, yes.
3.5. We dropped that to 1.9 amp hours per mile.
Isn't that amazing?
And that little Toyota pickup truck, all the way to zero mileage of 100 miles, which she should have been able to go to Sykes and back twice.
Easy. Yeah, exactly.
And so, just on the front end alignment. We used to take out all the toe in. This is a little different from your normal setup on your car. If you do that, your steering wheel gets to
you wander a little.
be a little busy.
Yeah.
So we have them put in, what do we usually tell them, a third of the normal toe in.
Yeah, literally, and it's half a degree or whatever. It's not much, just enough to make that steering wheel stick on track a little.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And but take most of that out. And of course, we use the low rolling resistance tires. I like the Michelin's. Bridgestone and Copias.
We've got Copias on one car, I think. Yeah.
I like the Michelin Energy Savers, but they're only available in some sizes.
Right.
And so, and we'll run them at 44 pounds quite commonly. And that's a little bouncy, but it sure makes it roll nice.
It does. It does make it roll nice.
So that's some of the tricks that don't really have anything to do with the electronics of the car, but make a big difference in how far you can go and your performance and so forth. And we keep learning things we already know one more time.
Over and over again. That's right.
Speaking of which, I had a email from a guy. We used to repeat this often. I have some beautiful wristwatches my wife got me for piloting. They're
the Breitlings?
yes, they're Breitlings.
Breitlings, yes.
Beautiful pieces of really jewelry. And she finally gave one to her son-in-law, I think, one of my watches, because I just don't wear them.
Don't wear them.
And there's a reason. You do not want to wear watches or rings around these cars when you're working on them. And the reason is that electrocution is not the problem, but you get across a couple terminals with a wedding ring or a wristwatch, and you get your arm back after your hand burns off and falls to the ground. This is bigger than welding.
Yeah.
These cells can put out 2,000, 3,000 amps in some cases. And I got an email from a guy. He was across one cell, 3 volts.
Really?
Yeah, and he's permanently branded on his wedding ring.
Yeah, I lost mine here, and I got a new one, but I don't wear them around the cars.
Wouldn't bring them in here, Brain.
Yeah, I do not.
You'll forget.
Yeah.
Don't you forget. Just don't have them on around the vehicles. You reach and you forget, and the next thing you know, things are getting pretty hot.
Yeah, don't wear like a big 18-karat rope chain or maybe 3 or 4 of them like Mr. T, and you don't get your head in there.
I've even gone to plastic.
Yeah, me too.
And,
little wireframes,
little titanium wireframe, you drop them on the battery cell. They really don't cause much damage.
No.
They turn to a gas instantly. It's just your glasses have disappeared.
That's right, you have to wear
The
your
lenses are laying there, but
You have to wear them like a monocle.
right, but the frame is gone. And so that's the danger is actually burns.
Yeah.
And it's very serious. It's very unlikely you'll be electrocuted working on an electric car. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of anybody having that problem. You get a little tingle once in a while with a frame leak, but it's not too dangerous.
No.
But heat, sparks, welding, blobs of metal from inadvertent contacts are quite serious, and you want to watch for that. Oh, I got quite a reaction to my ranting and raving.
Oh, I know. You did.
So
That was pretty good.
let me re-rant. This is not quite so bad. But I thought it important to set a context. My rant sort of made it sound like I threw a temper tantrum at a gas pump. A little more to it than that. I'm not going to belabor peak oil and give you a whole lot of ammunition in the ongoing debate of who has better statistics than who. But I'd like you to be aware of the historical context from 1900 to today about the exponential growth of oil, automobiles, and humanoids. Let's take a look.
All right.
Alrighty, I last week kind of went into a fit of editorial matter. It's actually had quite a response. We've found that a lot of our viewers have had very similar experiences and identified quite readily with my sort of cute discussion of my ire at the price of gas at the pump. It's time I probably confessed that the price at the pump, the feeling of being a victim and being coerced, is very real. In fact, the price at the pump is not something I care about a whole lot. And in fact, I view it as sort of ethereal. Gasoline is cheaper today than it was in 1910. In real terms, it's true that everyone has an opinion. I expressed mine and was gratified to find that many of our viewers and it was gratifying to find that many of our viewers are of a similar frame of mind. That said, having an opinion is kind of a national sport here in the United States. Unfortunately, most people don't have a context for their opinion, know why they believe something other than they heard it on TV. And without a context of history and anthropology and economics and so forth, these opinions don't have a lot of validity. This week, I thought I would share, in general terms, some of the background data that plagues me a little bit in the context of cars, gasoline, economics, and people. You've all seen the diatribe about peak oil, and we're going to run out of oil. I said in our very first video, and I'll reiterate today, that we're never going to run out of oil. That'll never happen. It's not just that it won't happen in our lifetime, it will never happen at all, particularly gasoline. We can make gasoline from coal. The dinosaurs didn't really die and leave us the oil. It was dinosaur plankton maybe, but there's oceans of it. Some of it can be quite economically difficult to get to, as evidenced by the fact that they're going to a mile deep in the ocean and then drilling between 20 and 25,000 feet to get the oil. We found quite a bit here in the United States just recently, and in fact our domestic production is up to some degree. We're never going to run out of oil. There's no limit to the oil in any practical matter. There's also no limit to the price of oil. One of the reasons we're never going to run out is at some price I can take coal and turn it into gasoline, and it'll actually probably be a little better gasoline than what you're getting now. Again, this is something I can almost do in my garage. So there's a lot of ways of generating liquid hydrocarbons. Many of them involve processes that are somewhat expensive, but if you're willing to pay for it, it can be done. That said, let me call your attention. We do a lot with curves around here. And if you'll look on the board here, We start at 1900 on this graph and go to 2010. And this is what I call an exponential growth curve. There's actually one for the population of the world that is almost a dead match for what you see here. And these two curves actually track very closely. The blue one is world oil production in millions of barrels per day. We did about 400,000 barrels per day in the year 1900. And in 2010, we were up to 87 million barrels per day of oil, barrel nominally being 42 gallons. And that's by all producers worldwide. The red line is actually the population of automobiles in operation worldwide, and not just automobiles, but light trucks, light commercial vehicles, basically your gasoline-powered vehicles. That's a very interesting curve to me. We know that I guess we're now crediting Carl Benz with producing essentially the first automobile that ran on gasoline in 1886. If you look at this curve, we hit 500 million cars about 1986. So it took a century to reach 500 million operating vehicles in the world. It was 24 years later, in July of 2010, when we reached 1 billion. And so that's quite a curve. I found data back to 1922, New York Times article, noted 12,590,000 vehicles in that year. Over 10 million of them were in the United States. Today, we're well over 1 billion with about 245 million of them registered in the United States. And so we've gone from being 90% of the cars to 25% of the cars worldwide in that period. The oil production, of course, has paced very well with the production of the automobiles, and the biggest use of crude oil is to power vehicles. Yes, they've developed a whole lot of other things. Oil originally, a Scotsman, what's his name, James Edmonds or something, in Scotland in 1840, figured out how to distill kerosene out of crude oil and replace whale oil for lighting at that time. And into the 1880s, that's kind of what it was used for. But about the turn of the century, and certainly by the time Henry Ford came along and started mass producing automobiles, and you have to understand how quickly that occurred. From the turn of the century to 1922, 22 years, they went from essentially no gasoline-powered cars to over 10 million in the United States. That was a phenomenal period of growth. From about 1960 to 1985, the oil business got to be a big business and actually started outproducing the number of cars. And you can kind of see this line, the blue line diverging here up from the lower pace of the red line for the cars. So we had kind of a bubble burst in 1985 in the oil business, and things got bad in the patch. They've resumed their climb now, a little bit more sedate pace, and you can see them kind of converging here. But the number of vehicles worldwide is growing at an increasing pace, and a logarithmic pace, and that is a central element of our situation today and into the future. As I say, it took 100 years to do the first 500 million, 24 the second. If we half-life that again, it's about 12 years to double again. And so by 2022 or 2023, we would probably be looking at 2 billion cars, all other things being equal. And they're not entirely, but that's the pace we're on. It's not really a U.S. issue, other than we'll have to live with the consequences. It's primarily the growth is in 3 countries, China, Brazil, and India. And they have a lot of people in China and India. And Brazil is kind of a coming country in South America, and have, through Petrobras, they have oil off the coast of South America there that they deal with. But the central issue is that the American lifestyle has become the envy of the world, and through television, everybody knows what it is. And the people in India and in China have figured out that the middle class consumer lifestyle is pretty good. But if they want to play it, it's very difficult for an individual to get into the middle class by sending messengers and hooking goats up to carts in the morning to go places. And so you see the 2 main bow and arrow of the 21st century is your smartphone and your automobile. China in particular is growing very rapidly. They produce more vehicles than the United States does now. There are over 18 million vehicles a year to our 15 million. And their cities are choking with air pollution at the moment. They burn a lot of coal for their electricity, and of course gasoline for their cars. And they're in a very aggressive posture, procuring oil in countries all over the world. And in fact, last September, quietly but very notably, set up their own oil bourse or market, exchange market for oil in a lot of currencies besides the U.S. dollar, and have good participation from oil producers, notably Russia, in that. And so they're quite a comer. India is in a similar vein, in a quest for a modern middle class type existence, and they're building a number of cars. Of course, that's the home of Tata Motors, and so we're having an increasing number of cars, not so much the United States, but here, but with essentially what were 3rd world nations that want to have cars. And we do not have the legal or the moral or the military means to tell them that they can't have them. Now, it looks like these 2 lines are converging. Let me put up another graph. This is a little more near term. And what we track here, and it's convenient that I can put them on the same graph, they're not the same thing. And you have to be careful with these. People can manipulate these graphs any number of ways. I've kind of intentionally haven't. But we're on the same scale here with 2 lines that have nothing to do with each other numerically. This is the number of vehicles produced annually is the red line, and the blue line is the millions of barrels of oil produced per day worldwide. They just happen to be kind of similar numbers. And it illustrates an interesting element, and that is the growth in not just the existing vehicles of the previous graph, how many are in operation, but this is how many are being produced. And so you can see the acceleration in the number of vehicles in the world by the number that we're producing each year. And again, that production is primarily outside the United States. All vehicles, then, note, do compete for gasoline. And we have it with the world oil production in millions of barrels per day. And they're converging. There is kind of a glitch in the world vehicle production. You'll see starting in 2007 and bottoming in 2009. And therein lies a tale and an important aspect in the cost of oil. We actually don't care what oil costs, and we don't care what gasoline costs. It's not terribly important. You can get accustomed to anything as long as you have time to do it. Secretary of the Treasury Paulson in 2008 got on the television on a Sunday night, which was very unusual, and was visibly trembling when he announced that the United States government was going to bail out the financial industry to the tune of $800 billion, which was a preposterous statement on the face of it. At any one time, the U.S. has maybe $40 to $45 billion of cash available on hand. They don't have $800 billion to bail anybody out. The only people that have that kind of money is Apple Computer and Google, maybe Cisco and Systems. So I found it and I started looking into why this man was in such a panic and in all seriousness and indeed earnest terror was announcing such a preposterous concept. As it turns out, we have our FICA insurance on our bank accounts good up to $100,000. Accounts larger than $100,000 really aren't covered. And so the Bank of Wachovia was having a run on their bank, but only by their large depositors who couldn't afford to lose it, notably corporations with 30 or 40 or $50 million payroll accounts in the bank that they used to pay their employees. And they were in kind of en masse pulling those accounts from the Bank of Wachovia, who did notify the government that they were not going to open on Monday morning. And a little survey indicated that Wells Fargo's position was as the Bank of Wachovia didn't open, it would be unlikely they would survive the week. And that's the reason for the panic and what had gone on. What underlined it, all that, I'm sure you've all followed, and to the usual media and government explanation that is either a barefaced lie or truly child minds at work. And that was that our banks had overextended themselves by making dubious loans to prospective homeowners. Everybody would like to own a home. I don't have anything against anyone who wants to own their own home from whatever level, economic level they come from, and the banks are usually pretty good at gauging that. It's kind of like blaming the existence of fires here in the city of Cape Girardeau on big red trucks, because we can always notice that if you go to any of the fires that we have with buildings here in Cape, there's always a big red truck accompanying it. What they were talking about was the default rate on home mortgages. And obviously, if people default on the loan, they must not have been able to afford to make the payments. And so the conclusion was the banks had erred in extending credit to people too easily so they could do this. It wasn't precisely what happened. It remains true in that also fires are normally accompanied by big red trucks. That's also true. But it's not really got anything to do with the root cause of the fires. This is a correlation, not a causal effect. What happened was in 2008, the price of gasoline went to $4. There's nothing magic about the number $4. What was magic was that it stayed there for about 6 months. And many people, hopefully none of you, and certainly not I, but a lot of people here where I live, kind of work from paycheck to paycheck. And as it so happens, they normally are not the top of the accounting class at Yale or Harvard either. And so their budgetary skills are somewhat meager. They managed to rob Peter to pay Paul month in and month out, year in and year out, and actually live that way pretty much most of their lives. You take $40 or $50 out of their budget for the month, and they can usually move things around and work it out. But if you do it for 5 or 6 months running, there's no place to hide. They have a certain drive they make to their jobs. Typically, they'll have an older, larger vehicle, perhaps not in the best of tune. And those additional gallons, while they could deal with it for a month, when you do it 4 or 5 or 6 months, they gradually get underwater. And so inevitably, the day comes when today's the day you make the mortgage payment, and you have just enough money in the checking account to make that payment, but the gas tank's empty. And you get to face the choice of filling the tank or making the mortgage payment. And let's take a look at what happens if you don't make the mortgage payment. The answer is nothing. Nothing happens at all. You probably won't get a written notice for 45 days. Probably no humanoids will actually look at the account for 90. And by then, you're in pretty deep. What happens if you don't fill the tank? Actually, exactly the same answer, nothing. You don't go to work. You don't go to choir practice. You don't go to soccer. You're a prisoner in your own house and lose whatever little income you might have. And so, what percentage of those people chose to fill up the tank? And that is 100. And so we had a very quick and sudden rise in the default rate on home mortgages. All the economic system you see discussed on the television with the stock market, hedge funds, Wall Street, is the pimple on the back of a whale. It's a sideshow. It's not even a particularly important aspect of our economy. The 800-pound gorilla in the room is home mortgages. And we have 100 million homes in the United States, and most of them have money owed on them, and it's an immense amount of money, trillions of dollars. They had taken these and packaged them and resold them and repackaged them and resold them to the point where they weren't too sure who they had loaned money to and what was going on, but they knew that a number of loans were going bad, and they didn't know how many, and they didn't know what kind, and they didn't know which package they were in. And so this put kind of a strain on the financial system to adequately report that and avoid jail time. Largely a compliance with government regulations. They had money coming in the door and were in all sense healthy, other than they kept having these properties crop up that were in default on their payments. And that's what set it off. And you can see world vehicle production, what happened was and I recently did a description of how the automotive industry works, the mile-long beast that makes machines. It's all based on a break-even. You have a model that has to sell 77,214 cars, and you start making money on the 215th. Suddenly there was a credit lockup and nobody was buying cars at all. You could GMAC, how can the finance company of an automobile manufacturer lock up, not be able to make auto loans? Well, the window where they were getting the money closed, and they simply were not able to obtain credit, to extend credit to people to buy cars. And it put General Motors in receivership. Ultimately, all shareholders of General Motors took the haircut. The government and GM worked out the deal where the people who owned the current stock would lose everything, and within 6 months they did a new IPO and have new shareholders now who are very happy. But that's this drop in world vehicle production right here was because no one could get financing to buy a car. And so what's the lesson from that? Today, gasoline is pretty much $4. So why don't we have the same thing going on? The $4 was never important. It was the sudden change from about $2.50 to $4 that put people in distress. They've since adjusted to it, and $4, $3.50, $4 is very normal around here, and $5 really in California is quite normal and quite accepted. Does anybody like it? Well, no, but they've adjusted to it, and it's part of their budgetary process and part of their lives. They make adjustments, get a car that gets better mileage, move closer to work, change careers, change houses. There's any number of things you can do. But our society is largely based on suburbs and migration to cities and employment centers in routines that can involve 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 mile round trips, largely based on gasoline that's $1 a gallon, and that's changing. It's not terribly important what the price of oil is. What's terribly important is that it not change suddenly. And that's what we saw in 2008. Today, gasoline is actually higher than it was then, but we're all more accustomed to it. But as you can see in the upper right hand part of this, we have a continued increase in the production of oil, and but a more accelerated increase in the number of cars that'll be bidding for that oil. You'll hear about peak oil constantly. That's I've got a problem with that. It's I don't think that actually works quite the way they see it. You could have picked out any period in the production of oil since 1900, and excluding all the countries that oil was later discovered in, make any claim as to what the future existence of oil would be. But we continue to find new oil. That's not to say that we haven't plucked most of the low-hanging fruit. Uncle Jed is not going to leave the cabin and be hunting for some food when up through the ground come a bubbling crude. Those days are pretty much over. We're drilling 25, 30,000 feet into the ground, and it's more expensive to get it, and it's more expensive to process it, and all that to feed more cars who want it. And so the price of oil will continue to climb. What we want to avoid is any sudden change in the price of oil. And the 2008 financial fiasco has been sufficiently detrimental to just about all of us that I think we ought to avoid it in the future. And worse, it could have been worse. We could have actually lost the banking system. And few can actually imagine what that means, but it's sort of a doomsday scenario. I would advocate a $5 a gallon tax on gasoline immediately, except we'll collect it really slowly, like put a quarter on next January and add a quarter every January for the next 20 years. That sort of takes the element of surprise out of it when you have 20 years to adjust to it. But if everybody knows that's where it's going, it will change the way we do adjust to things quite remarkably. I think it'll let a lot of the air out of the speculation market. And for 3 years, we'd probably have lower gasoline costs because of that. But that's probably not going to happen, lacking that kind of a strategic plan for dealing with this situation. We have a couple of things. We're basically one camel sneeze away from a global financial disaster at the moment. And that's a very uncomfortable situation to be in. It all operates kind of on the margin. If 20% of the people, in fact, if 20% of the people in the United States did half their miles in an electric car, these two lines kind of open up again. It's not the heart of the beast that's rotten. It's all operates on the marginal edge. It's the point where you don't have enough oil for all the cars, the bidding begins. And the price starts to rise, and you become very frothy and subject to the whims of speculators in the markets based on political or even weather events, fires in refineries, shortages such as we had in Southern California in 1978. And so that kind of moves out of the if column and into the when column. When are we going to have the next major emergency with regards to gasoline? And that's a very uncomfortable situation with the illustrated, demonstrated connection with our global financial system and an apparent total lack of cognizance by our political leadership that any of this is going on. They think it's a banking problem. Obama was on this week talking about global warming and our children CO2 problem. This is like children let loose in the control room of a nuclear power plant trying to operate it by pulling switches and levers and seeing what they do. And so I don't have a great deal of confidence in our political leadership. All that to say that my blog about my motivations for getting in electric cars is very real and was very true and very personal. But it's against this backdrop of kind of an anxiety that our entire society and our financial system is in a very fragile situation. I haven't even addressed the balance of trade and as T. Boone Pickens calls it, the largest transfer of wealth in the history of the world from the United States to the Middle East. You all have heard plenty about that. So I don't get too caught up in hysterics about any of it, the price of gasoline, global warming. But if you take the overall context and look at the trend lines, we have some largely unsustainable exponential growth curves in fossil fuels, vehicles of all kinds, and humanoids on the planet since 1900. It's kind of a population oil car bubble. And it can't grow vertically and double every 5 or 6 years ad infinitum. That's just not something that can be. It's like the doubling of a bacterial population. It's no big deal as long as we're talking about a pinhead's full, but by the time it's got the room full, the next couple of doublings are going to take over the town. And this is where we're at with oil production, vehicles, and humanoids. And so it would be nice, since there is so damn much of it, if somebody was driving the train. I can point to no one who even seems anything but blissfully unaware of it. And it's horribly complicated by almost fantasy discussions about global warming and the weather and climate change and all things that I admit could be quite real, but they're not pressingly imminent when this is the context that anyone can go look up and see the number of cars, the amount of oil produced, and the number of people, and take a brief glance, and an 8-year-old can see kind of where all this comes together, and it's not very far in the future. As we approach it more closely, we become more vulnerable to any wind can blow us. As I say, one camel sneeze and we can't buy food. a doomsday scenario, the dissolution of our economic system, our government, and our society. All because no one was minding the store. Well, perhaps nobody has to. If we can get enough people on board, and we're winning, guys. We went to this little thing downtown here, the Hemmings Great Race, this week, and the questions have changed entirely, and the reception among the general population to electric cars is very positive. There's questions about the economics and the ability to pay for it, and how they get involved with it. But an 8-year-old kid told Brian at a car show that, hey man, that's the future. And he's right. The population in general is very receptive to it, but how and why and what does that mean? And we have not reached the tipping point, and we won't until we get a few more people in the Army out there building cars, taking them and showing them, and basically educating the people around them in what it means to drive a car on electricity, magnetic drive. That's your job, man. I'm here to help. Stay with us. So,
That's interesting. Yeah, very, very
just
interesting. Yeah.
some numbers, numerology. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there is some significant danger to not pursuing this
Yeah.
electrification of personal transportation.
I believe so, yeah.
And what it has to do with is not if you've noticed, there's a recurring theme with me and prices. They're all relative to nothing. They're graven in jello. I don't care what the price is because it's going to move. But what the Alert 5 here is one camel sneeze, and we have a sudden change, and that can be very disruptive.
That would
and
be
very
the problem,
dangerous.
yes. Yes.
And you don't really, Americans have forgotten what happens when the banks close. My grandfather had 5 rental houses in a very nice house here in Cape Girardeau. They closed the banks in the early 30s. He had enough money to pay them all off. He had mortgages on all of them. But he had the cash to pay them all off in the bank.
Oh, yeah.
They took the cash,
Yeah.
and so he couldn't pay off the loans. Of course, he's got loans against him, but there's also some fine print in loans. They can call him at any
call 'em
time,
in, yeah.
and they did, like today. So the one bank takes his money
Oh, no.
and forecloses on the houses in one smooth move.
Is that like Simon Legrede or something there?
No, if you think
Yeah.
it couldn't happen
Yeah.
today, you're wrong.
Yeah,
It can
it can
again.
happen, yeah.
When they fall, they take everybody they can with them on the
Yeah.
way down, and mostly you. You lose everything in the bank. And if you think you lose your house mortgage, you're right, you lose the house.
Right.
You can, in some cases, still wind up owing on it, and they still have the house.
And they still have the house, sure.
You not have the house. It's very ugly what happens in those situations. Fossil fuels and transportation has become such a part of our everything, but primarily our food. Which wind up with a collapsed financial system, food quadrupling in price, and nobody having any money to buy any of it.
Right. And we have no political will to do anything about
And
it.
riots in the streets,
Yeah.
and literally all the doomsday guys with their AR-15s and stuff saying, see, I told you so.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way. This is all on the margin. We don't even have to convert everybody. There really isn't any middle ground. When it flashes over, it'll go over completely. But for the sake of argument, if we got 20% of the people driving cars in this country to do 20% of their miles electric, this whole thing moves out 30 years,
That'd be a
40
big
years.
deal, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not an issue. It won't happen that way. We're going to take it all.
Yeah, we'll hit the tipping point eventually, yeah.
It's people have it in their mind that a car should take them anywhere they want to go without limits.
Right. It's just,
And
it's in our DNA
that's
now.
in their mind.
Yeah.
If you look at what you do with a car,
Yeah.
really, all of this is nonsense. I charge my electric car, the one I'm driving, twice a week. I don't even bother to plug it in most nights. You don't have to. The energy I use, you can't find it in the electric bill with test instruments. And a guy in here today, well, what do you have coming in here to your shop? You have like a, 800 amp, 540, three-phase. I said, part of your air conditioner runs 3,500, 4,000 watts, and it runs here in Missouri 24/7
Yeah.
starting the 1st June.
Yes.
The car's about the same thing.
Right.
3,500 watts, and it runs 3 hours or 4 hours and shuts off.
Right.
You can't find your utility use for an electric car in the bill with an accountant. It's just, you can't even dig it out. So my prediction is when it goes, it goes.
Yeah. It's gonna go big.
It's just people are going to get over it. It is an acculturation issue. Ironically, about 15 minutes after they do, and they start buying electric cars, and there's a bunch of them out there,
Yeah.
they'll put in fast charge stations all over the world, and you'll be back to where you could drive
Where you
your car.
can drive them anywhere,
Anywhere
you
you want
want.
to.
That's right.
But you still won't actually do that.
Right,
very
you still
much.
won't because you're still not going to drive anymore. Yeah. That's funny. Oh, man.
They're saying I'll have a Tesla in July.
Oh, really? Okay.
Black one with a tan interior,
Okay. They're getting ready to build it?
85 kilowatt supercharger, 2 chargers.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
They want to send somebody out to install a charging thing in my garage. I don't even know how to respond.
I know, it's like, what do you say?
I think I'll have them do it down at Jill's condo. She doesn't have any place to charge down there.
Oh, that makes sense. You shouldn't have a charge station anywhere, huh?
No,
Oh,
not-
cool.
not down
Some
there.
EVSE down there at the
Yeah,
condo.
and it's kind of a painful place to put electric for
make
me,
them
so-
work.
Yeah, make them work
Make
a
them
little
work.
bit.
Make them work for it.
And so that's in the works. We had a big deal here this week. Danny Essner is with the local. Now there's a couple of groups he's with: River City Rodders,
River City Rodders,
and
yeah.
then Kapahal.
There's a Kappa Antique Car Club, I think. I can't remember exactly what they're called.
Yeah, is he involved with those two?
He's involved with the River City Rodders. I'm not sure
Okay.
about the Antique Car Club.
They come and help us at EVCON. They're the guys that weigh your car.
Right, to
at
do the
EVCON.
car weighing, yeah. Yeah,
because
some of you met 'em.
You got to run the scales and move them back and forth and so forth for different car lengths. And the River City Rod guys do that. So he wanted us to sponsor. Hemmings Motor News has a great race. I didn't realize this was started in 1982.
Yeah, in Knott's Berry Farm is where it
Knott's Berry
started.
Farm to Indianapolis.
Yes, yeah.
And it's a very serious kind of a race. It's not a race the way I think of them. This I might be able to do. They have clocks and they get instructions. It's rally.
It's like rally format, yeah.
And so they have checkpoints during the day. They get these instructions that are kind of cryptic. They have to make all the right turns and drive all the right speeds. And when they pass a checkpoint, if they pass it, and of course the guys know they don't even all leave at the same time. They know their departure time. They know exactly the second that they should cross that point.
Yep, okay,
They
pass
get
that
a
checkpoint.
point if they're off a second. The day of the race, the leg to Cape Girardeau, the winner got 2.54 points.
Oh, man.
For the whole day, all
Wow.
the checkpoints
So
together.
so they nailed it,
They
yeah.
were 2.54 seconds off.
Yeah.
And so that's how precisely, and they're all these old vintage cars, some of them 1916 Hudson.
Yes.
And so forth. And so Cape Girardeau, we Danny Essner got together some guys to sponsor it and did it up very nicely.
It was a wonderful event. Wonderful.
They've had this race every year. One year it was, and they win like, this one guy was telling me one year he won $360,000.
Oh, man.
He's been in the race every year since 1990.
Isn't that something? That's a
And-
good-sized purse.
And so
wow.
it's kind of an interesting
Yeah.
thing. They had 89 beautiful cars.
Yes, yes.
All kinds of things. There was a Fiat, a multiplex or something. Multiplet that was kind of cute that was in it. But a 1916 Hudson. And,
Yes, yes.
all kinds of things. Coker.
Yeah, Coker
sponsors.
tires. Yeah, Coker
And
tires.
so we had a couple hundred cars, and they had 89 cars,
Yes.
and it turned into a car party. And but we got a very good reception to our electric vehicles.
Yes.
Too.
The crowd really loved them.
And so it was, and there was something different. It's it's changed. The questions have changed. The queries changed. The people are extraordinarily receptive to this now. They're pretty much convinced when they walk up. They just still have a couple questions, and how would I do that?
Right, exactly. Yeah, but it has
And,
changed. Yep.
A lot of people considering builds. It's just a big thing. Richard, we really didn't shoot us there, but he did shoot some of the finish line with some of the cars coming across.
Okay.
He had a tripod, but he's kind of got the Blair Witch Project thing down pretty good.
Yeah, we should change him then.
Let's take a look at what he got. If it's good, I'll give you several minutes. If it's not, this may be a 30 seconds. I can only watch so much of that before I start to have to throw up.
There you go.
Motion sickness, you know. Let's take a look.
All right.
This time, guys, Will Loomis, would you please come back to Cruising the Coast? All right? Will Loomis. We're sure to need you, buddy, all right?
Volleyball, basketball, I didn't play.
Walk in the classroom, cool and slow. Who calls in? Teacher Danny, Charlie Brown, Peter Crown, Charlie Brown.
You didn't even have to drive a mile, you're already home. I would like to invite the VFW post 3838 to come forward now, please.
Yeah, but they're here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite John Pettit, Boy Scout Troop 8, to lead us in the pledge.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. And moving into position now, I would like to invite Jacqueline Kiefner. And as she's getting ready to sing the anthem, the veterans assembled here this afternoon, will you come to attention and salute as well so that we can recognize and thank you for the wonderful service you provided the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem, Jacqueline Kiefner.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly screamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow, thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Thank you to VFW Post 3838 for the presentation of colors. Let's hear it for our veterans, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to go, Tony. Wow, Jacqueline, that was phenomenal! Unbelievable! Where's the voice?
American Legion, thank you so much. And Boy Scout Troop number 8, thank you for being here. How many of you are Eagle Scouts? All right. My son Cameron, the photographer, here, is an Eagle Scout. Thank you.
Come on, folks, let's make some noise as this color guard dismisses.
All right. Color Guard, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Thank you so much. God bless America.
We know, ladies and gentlemen, that we've got cars around the corner and back up, and we do appreciate and we do thank all of the help we're getting to bring these cars down Broadway. Our drivers and navigators are going to be so touched by the generosity, the kindness, the warm welcome that they're receiving as they come down Broadway here to Maine. Once again, bringing in the Leslie Special. This wonderful, wonderful old car owned by the Stahl Group and from the movie The Great Race, personally autographed by Tony Curtis, 2004. We got him in the car way out in Monterey, California. And today, it's at Cape Girardeau.
Do you guys remember, anybody ever seen that movie, The Great Race? Every time Tony Curtis smiled, his tooth would sparkle. Natalie Wood, God rest her soul. And the race was from New York to Paris. This is the Leslie Special, used in the movie. Wonderful, wonderful event. Hal, move that sign over just a little bit and let them out. Wonderful, owned by the Stahl family, Spirit of the Stalls.
Up where I come from, we use that smoke just to discourage the mosquitoes from being out. You know, I know that's not an issue down here.
Down south here,
We don't.
it's okay, we can kill them. It don't matter. Smoke like that, we can kill them. We don't just discourage them.
We're environmentalists up in Canada, I'll tell you what. Ready for the first car, bring it on. And it is a Missouri car, ladies and
All
gentlemen.
right, give them
Here
a
they come.
Cape Girardeau, welcome.
Out of Jefferson, Missouri, the Mule Skinner team. The 1965 Chevrolet Corvette of Brad Effel and James Good. They are back in their home state. How about that? Man, you rallied the roads of Missouri today and you still have a shine. That's cool. Take it on through. And what they will do, by the way, is as they go under the banner, they will officially finish today. And they will stop at the stop sign. Our rally master, John Clausen, will give them their score for the day. The object of the exercise, get as many zeros as you possibly can. It's like golf, low score wins. The cars are handicapped. The older the car, the greater the handicap or factor that we apply. For example, that Corvette may have had a raw score of, say, 14 seconds. Because it's so new, being a 65, its actual net score for the day might be like 13.2 seconds. Where if a 1916 Studebaker comes through and it had the same 14 seconds, its factor would probably take it down to about 11.
So you got here about an hour before I did.
Yes, sir.
But since you're my elder, we got an even score.
We do.
Okay.
We do. So if you had 14 seconds and I had 14 seconds, because I'm older, I'd win.
No.
Yes, sir.
Oh, is that right?
That's right, because you're just a young'un.
Man,
Look at this young lady right
get
here.
your programs right here.
When her mommy and daddy are out rallying, she's here selling programs. $5. Pictures of every driver, navigator.
Car number 2 coming in the house.
Not car number 2. Bring it
Car
around
number
the
2.
Bring it around the corner.
These guys are both national grand champions. Curtis Craft out of Irving, Texas. Ty Holmquist out of Hollister, California.
Well, they're right there.
32 Ford Highboy.
There's something else special about these guys.
Oh my
Goodness. Yes, it is. I want to tell you a couple of things. First of all, the guy driving this car has never missed a great race. He's been every one we've run since 1983. Ty Holmquist has only missed 2. All the way. They're grand champions from 1995, the longest great race in the history of the great race. Ottawa, Ontario, Canada to Mexico City. And here they are, right downtown Cape Girardeau, ladies and gentlemen.
Stage 3 winner, grand champion division. Back to the 50s to the Gulf. Congratulations, Ty Holmquist and Curtis Graff.
We'd like to get them out of the car this one time, Courtney. Can we get them out of the car? Put her in neutral. This is special. Grand champions, Cape Girardeau, winners of yesterday.
I don't know that Ty can get out of the car.
Well, we may get him out. One grand champion division, yes.
They won the grand champion division yesterday.
We want to get him right here.
And Tyrone is a knucklehead, without a doubt.
There it is, right here in Cape Girardeau.
Give him
well
a
done,
great
guys.
big Cape
Welcome.
Girardeau welcome.
Grand champion.
Number 2.
Grand champion yesterday. That's cool. Man, it's hot in there. By the way, they do have air conditioning. That's when the windows are down. And they have umbrellas. That's when the
here is car number 60, the Stowboat Special.
Out of the great state of New York, they're from Baldwinsville, New York, grandfather and grandson. Welcoming John Hudson, his grandson Scott. Expert division in the Stowboat 6, 1940 Chevy Master Deluxe Coupe. Man, they've been rallying a long time together. They are experts, and they're trying to win the golden prize.
Scott's got it bad too.
Oh yeah,
he has it bad.
How bad
he
does he have
great
it?
racing.
Take your hat off.
He shaved into his head his car number just in case he got lost. But on this side, he carved in an ACE, A-C-E. That means my wife doesn't listen to me. She doesn't listen.
2004 Great Race Grand Champion. Come on, it's the MacDon sponsor 1916 Hudson. G.R. Pike, you're on that south. The 1948 Buick Super 8 convertible.
This car is a wonderful.
That is unbelievable. This young man is already graduating from MSU. He's completing his master's degree, and he only turned 20 years old. Dave Reader, Sawyer Stone, bring it on in.
Bring it on in, boys.
Here they come, the four-fingered wonders. Gary and Tina Martin. Oh, wow. Beautiful. In the 1938 Ford Coupe, 5 windows. Take it out and get your score, Tina.
Hey, you know what, Brad? This car looks like it would be to allow car carriers. Well, it's the right color and everything, but it's not. It's
Western, best Western. 4,000 hotels around the world.
It's the best Western day every day.
Bring it on, Gary and Tina. That's not the only car they rally. Here we go, number 76.
David Lowe and Shirley Lowe from Champion Motor Oil.
Purpose-built oils, ladies and gentlemen. Rocking and rolling down the river. Hello, Shirley. Hello, David. I know Courtney's delighted to see you. You got a muscle car, you got a street race. Purpose-built oil. Those old oils don't that young lady. What a beautiful
See all the 8 stickers on the side?
What a great way to chill out here. We're going to be here for a couple of hours. You're going to see old car after old car. We got some old drivers. We got some good times. 13-year-old navigator. Sawyer Stone was when he won this. By the way, if you win, you're the overall grand champion. You take home $50,000. Yeah. Oh, there's another $100. They're here, ladies and gentlemen. Entry number 28. Oh, absolutely.
Have fun yet?
I've been working on several of
Okay, you folks all have a safe trip home now. Be careful, all right? We don't Rod Night. I'm Hot Rod Booth. Love House PJ. We're going to send y'all home. Sam, Cook, send him on home. Everybody, we appreciate it.
What? Yeah, just use one there. That'll be fun. Yeah, I saw it. They're all electric. Here's our card. They're all electric drive. Yep. They have the charge. It's like a battery, yep. Plug them in the wall. That's correct, yes. Plug them in the wall. So how many miles will it run? These two vehicles go about 125 miles on the charge. Very low cost to operate. Very few moving parts. No, there's not enough power generated from that. They take a fair amount of a 240 volt charge in several hours. 240 volts. The charge them up. Take too many. Yeah, they'd be as big as this parking lot, bigger. Shane, you want some food or anything? Are you hungry? Anyhow, we have another car show coming up in August, and you're welcome to come to that. How many cars we got? We got 3 cars. There's another one over there. But you're welcome to come out. We have another. So you get 120 miles out of the charge. How much electric is basically? $2? Yeah, that's about exactly right. Yeah, $2. An average charge is about $2.80. You're exactly right. That's pretty accurate. Yeah, a couple dollars. They're going to go propane. Well, propane is high pressure. The only thing about propane is it's very it's like carrying around a bomb. Well, they may, but people say that. But here's the thing: that's just up. We got enough propane for a while. Yeah, a long fucking time. I had the first fleet of vehicles like Missouri State Parks. Yeah. Yeah, I had a fleet of propane vehicles, and I'll tell you what. They work? Oh. In other words, this fracking shit they do. Yeah. They're getting some of it out. Well, right now we got 200 years worth. They switched all the cars in the United States over to propane. We got 200 years worth right now. Yep. But you know how it goes. I know how it goes, yep. I'm filming here, right? I'm just getting here. Yeah. Nice talking to you. Sorry. You're in the film. Shane, you want to run out and get something to eat?
There was a big crowd there. Those cars were cool. And Cape Girardeau, I think, did a really super job. It's a car town. It's funny. I mean, there's really a lot of car people around here.
Larry Herzl had a BMW BMW Isetta.
Oh, that little one you go into the front of the car.
Yes,
yes.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had the doctor that delivered me here in Cape when I was a little kid. I drove one of those to his doctor office.
Really?
And I was fascinated with it. And Larry's is exactly the same color.
Oh, really?
Red
Oh,
and white.
man. Yeah, that's a
And,
cool little car.
It's just,
It really is something,
just
yeah.
a hoot.
To move, take the whole front off, and just
but
slide
there
in.
were a lot of pretty
Really nice cars.
Pretty cars there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a Studebaker guy up in Jackson has that I want to go buy from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 47 Studebaker pickup. Really nice.
Oh, man. Nice.
But we showed
Some
up
nice cars.
very well there, and
Yeah.
it all went good. But I thought it interesting. And a lot of our viewers are doing this. It's good work. Get out and go to those car shows and show your car.
Mm-hmm.
People are curious about them. And it's that's part of the deal, and you'll have a great time answering the questions and so forth. It's actually a lot of fun, and it does kind of cause cranial detonations.
Oh, it does, yeah.
It's fun to watch their forehead implode
yeah.
when you explain to them that it's 100 miles and no gasoline, and we don't do that. And they're just like,
I know.
So, and the more of those interactions that
Yeah.
occur, this is the mission: is build one, and you'll get a lot of satisfaction after that, and then show it to somebody, and that's how you change the world.
That's right.
And so, don't be afraid to show up at the local car club or car show and show off what you're doing. It's a lot of fun, and you'll actually learn a lot from talking to the people too. It's what they're really on about and what their concerns are, and so forth. So, I think it's good work if you can get it.
Yeah, and break out of just the EV club circle and get out there in the general population. That's who we need to convert.
What else I have this week? The guy's doing a Westphalia.
Yes.
Wanted us to do it. It's completely beyond him to do an electric, but he's already sanding it and painting it, replacing windshield, front grille,
Cutting out
pulling
rust,
the engine, doing the tie rod in. I said, I don't know what half of those things are, Pard.
Right.
If you can do that, why do you want me to do your electric conversion?
Yeah, just go ahead and when you put it together, use some different parts.
Yeah, right. When you put it all back together, it'll lose the engine.
Yeah, that's it.
And put this in its place.
That's really it. No gas tank, put some batteries.
And, Westphalia, put some batteries. It's a big battery box
It
on
is.
wheels.
It's a huge battery box.
It's and that's 60% of the bill is spotting the batteries.
Yeah.
We did get our 60s in
Yes.
and have a full bag in the VW Thing.
We do, yes.
And they're all strapped up. I'm still balancing on it.
Yes.
It is.
We are, and it is
yes.
a pain.
Within a few days, we should have that all wrapped up and put a full charge on our 335 volt pack.
Yes.
And be ready to start wiring up the GEVCU, the Generalized Electric Vehicle Control Unit, and see if we can make some wheel spin.
Yes.
With a
Cool.
DMOC 645 and a Siemens AC motor and a VW Thing. If we succeed, it could be a hot thing.
Yes, I believe so.
A hot little
real
thing.
Hot little thing. Hot little thing.
Be my thing.
That's right.
And so that should be fun. Jeff Southern is having a ball with his
thing
in Georgia, and he's bringing it to EVCon.
He's bringing his thing.
We'll probably put the two things in the dark back room back there and see if we can get a bunch of little VW rabbits or Sirocco's out of the deal.
We'll have a thing farm.
Yeah. See if we can get them mate in captivity.
That's right. Never seen before.
Have a bunch of little electric Siroccos.
That's right. That's right.
And,
Gotta love it.
So that's, we have, of course, Brian Seymour and I think his wife, Tony, are coming to the EVCon and bringing a Corvette.
I believe so, yes.
And very likely a Scion XB.
Scion XB.
And that could be, so we could have some very interesting cars at the event.
We've got, we're starting to get photos of some of the builds out there. There are some interesting cars that are coming to the event. Yeah, I think the guy's been very, very creative. This is car, you know, if you were electronics guys or engineers, whatever, you're car guys now. They're sorry.
Well, they bring a little different something to cars.
Yes, it is something.
And Charlie Rickman's wife was the first one to know these people are car guys. These are all geeks.
I know.
I resemble that remark.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. When Jack tells me yesterday, every now and then I need to like just do something for 10 hours, like go stare at the computer and code or something.
Right.
Makes me feel all just revved up. It's like, oh man, really?
I need to get away from all this.
I need to get away from all
go write some code.
That's right. Lock myself in the room for a couple hours.
Yeah, it's a little decompress there.
Nerd.
But again, things are going great. We see an accelerating interest in builds and new viewers and new builds, and of course we're selling components as fast as we can put them in boxes at this point. And so it's good times at EVTV, and we hope for you. I think it's going to be a neat time for everybody.
I think so.
In the build community and the custom electric car thing. And I think it goes hand in hand with manufactured cars. I'm going to get a Model S, and I think Jeff Southern is too.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so we're going to have Tesla'd wives and VW thinged guys.
That's right, that's right.
And all in one big thing. I said in the blog that they'd buy an electric puppy if they could get it to park and ship properly. Running on batteries.
Running on batteries.
And it's true.
Yeah, no, it's true enough.
We still get inquiries about our electric lawnmower. I told you I built the loudest EV in North America. It was supposed to be a super quiet lawnmower. It was a bust. Yeah, oh yeah, it mows grass.
It mows
fine.
grass.
That's not the problem. I think it's louder than it was when it had a gasoline engine. It seems like it. Anyway, stay with us. We got anything else? Am I forgetting something?
I don't think so. I think we've kind of done it.
Very well. Let's secure the area
All right.
and reconvene in 1 week.
There we go. We'll see you then.
We'll see you later.